Jupiter was gone, replaced by an armored colossus bristling with weapons the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. Emperor Zortax stared at the holoprojector in stunned disbelief, his purple scales flushing crimson with rage. The puny Terrans had done the impossible, converting an entire gas giant into a warship of staggering power. His generals gaped in slack-jawed awe at the titanic vessel dominating the display. "How did our intelligence operatives miss this?" Zortax snarled, slamming a fist on the obsidian table. Kalath, the spy master, stammered that they'd detected odd gravimetric anomalies around Sol for years, but hadn't realized the sheer audacity of the human scheme. Zortax's eyes narrowed. He would have the incompetent fool's head for this blunder. War Master Varaxis cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, I will mobilize the combined might of the Tarkalian Stellar Navy. This upstart species must learn the folly of defying your rule." On Earth, champagne flowed as Matthew Porter and his team of physicists celebrated the flawless launch of the Jupiter ship, the culmination of their clandestine decades-long project. Porter gazed at the displays showing the magnificent vessel speeding outward to meet the Imperial Armada amassing at the edges of the solar system. Humanity's very existence hinged on the outcome of the coming battle. The Terrans had gambled everything on this desperate bid to end Tarkalian tyranny. As gigantic weapons charged and legions of fighters launched from the Jupiter ship's bays, Porter could only pray that they hadn't just sealed Earth's doom. 5 years earlier, in a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Matthew Porter faced the somber expressions of World President John Riker and Defense Secretary Marcus Dante. The weight of Earth's predicament hung heavy in the room as Porter activated the holodisplay, casting ghostly blue light across their features. "Gentlemen, what I'm about to propose may sound like science fiction, but I assure you, it's our only chance to safeguard humanity's future against Tarkalian aggression." Porter's voice resonated with conviction as he outlined the audacious plan he called Project Jove. Riker leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "You're suggesting we turn Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, into some kind of warship? How is that even possible?" Porter launched into an impassioned explanation of the cutting-edge breakthroughs in fusion power, artificial gravity, and quantum field manipulation that his team had achieved in secret. He painted a picture of a colossal vessel dripping with unimaginable weaponry, a deterrent so formidable that even the mighty Tarkalian Empire would think twice before threatening Earth again. Dante, a hardened veteran of many battles, stroked his chin thoughtfully. "The strategic implications are staggering, but the resources required, the secrecy necessary to pull this off without the Tarkalians getting wind of it." "I won't lie to you," Porter said grimly. "The challenges are immense and the risks are high, but the alternative is to remain vulnerable, at the mercy of an empire that sees us as little more than primitives to be exploited or conquered." In the end, Porter's unwavering advocacy and the stark realities of Earth's precarious position swayed Riker and Dante. They greenlit Project Jove, setting in motion a clandestine operation unlike any in human history. The story jumped forward, 1 week after the christened ESS Prometheus, forged from the transformed mass of Jupiter, made its shocking debut on the galactic stage. In the depths of space, a sleek Tarkalian stealth frigate prowled, intent on uncovering the secrets of this mysterious human vessel. Captain Zora, her green scales gleaming in the dim light of the bridge, studied the sensor readouts with mounting frustration. The Prometheus seemed to defy conventional scans, its true capabilities shrouded in enigma. She was about to order her ship to move in for a closer look when a blinding lance of energy erupted from the human behemoth. In an instant, the frigate crumpled like a discarded toy, its atoms compressed into an infinitesimal singularity by the Prometheus's graviton beam. Zora had only a moment to comprehend the magnitude of human advancement before oblivion claimed her and her crew. News of the incident sent shockwaves rippling through the galactic assembly. Emperor Zortax, his face a mask of impossibly strong rage, demanded an explanation from the human ambassador. The entire chamber fell silent as David Weston, Earth's representative, rose to address the gathered dignitaries. Instead of offering placating words or diplomatic overtures, Weston stunned the assembly with a bold declaration of human independence. His voice rang out, filled with the conviction of a species that had long chafed under the yoke of Tarkalian domination. The ESS Prometheus is a symbol of humanity's persistence to forge our own path among the stars, Weston proclaimed. No longer will we bow to the whims of the Tarkalian Empire or any other galactic power. We will explore, expand, and defend our interests on our own terms. Pandemonium erupted in the assembly hall as delegates shouted over each other, some demanding the immediate subjugation of Earth and the destruction of the Prometheus, while others urged caution in the face of this new balance of power. Amidst the chaos, Emperor Zortax sat upon his throne, his eyes fixed on the defiant human ambassador. An unfamiliar sensation crept through his veins, a chilling realization that the Terran's achievement could reshape the very foundations of his empire. For the first time in his reign, Zortax felt the icy touch of fear as he contemplated the uncertain future that lay ahead. Emperor Zortax's talons drummed an agitated rhythm on his obsidian throne as he digested the implications of humanity's bold declaration. The chamber had emptied, leaving him alone with his most trusted advisors. "We must know more about this. Prometheus," he hissed, yellow eyes narrowing. "Xerxes." A lithe figure materialized from the shadows, scales shimmering with active camouflage. The Zarkani assassin bowed low, awaiting his emperor's command. "Infiltrate the Jupiter ship, plant surveillance nanites, learn its weaknesses." Xerxes nodded once and vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air. Hours later, as the Earth delegation's shuttle departed the Galactic Assembly, a near-invisible form clung to its hull. Xerxes rode the vessel through the void, his specialized suit protecting him from the vacuum of space. The Prometheus loomed before them, a metal leviathan eclipsing the stars. As the shuttle passed through a shimmering energy field, Xerxes detached, using the momentary disruption to slip inside before the shield snapped back into place. He landed in a cavernous hangar, immediately stunned by the scale. Swarms of autonomous drones buzzed overhead, tending to sleek fighters and bombers. The assassin's acute senses detected the thrumming heartbeat of fusion reactors, pulsing with impossibly strong power. Xerxes slunk through maintenance tunnels, avoiding patrols with practiced ease. He marveled at the ship's construction, an entire gas giant's worth of matter repurposed into a war machine of unprecedented scale. Suddenly, alarms blared. The deck beneath him shuddered violently, nearly sending him sprawling. A nearby status panel flashed red. "Hull breach, deck 17. On the bridge, Matthew Porter gripped his command chair as the ship rocked under enemy fire. "Status report!" "Tarkalian Imperial Reaper Squadron, sir," his tactical officer shouted. "They've launched a surprise attack with graviton torpedoes." Porter's expression resolute. "Shields holding?" "For now, but we can't take much more of this." He made a split-second decision. "Charge the primary railgun. Target the lead Reaper." Deep in the bowels of Prometheus, Xerxes fought to maintain his footing as the ship shuddered again. A support beam groaned, giving way under the strain. He dove forward, barely avoiding being crushed as it collapsed behind him. The assassin pressed on, finally reaching a primary data conduit. With practiced efficiency, he injected his surveillance nanites into the system. A high-pitched whine filled the air. Xerxes spun, finding himself face-to-face with a hovering security drone, its weapons primed. He dove for cover as particle beams lanced through the space he'd occupied a heartbeat before. On the bridge, Porter watched with grim satisfaction as a hypervelocity round erupted from Prometheus's primary weapon. The tungsten projectile, accelerated to near-light speed, tore through the lead Reaper like it was made of paper. The remaining squadron scattered, but it was too late. In rapid succession, the railgun reduced the Tarkalian ships to expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Xerxes sprinted through the corridors, alarms blaring in his wake. A stray particle beam grazed his shoulder, searing through his stealth suit. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he pushed himself harder. The assassin burst into a hangar bay, blood pounding in his ears. His claws flew over a nearby shuttle's control panel, overriding its security protocols. As the bay doors cycled open, He gunned the engines, blasting out of the Prometheus just as its point defense batteries opened fire. Xerxes' stolen shuttle limped back to the Imperial flagship, trailing debris and venting atmosphere. But clutched in his trembling claws was a data crystal containing precious intelligence on the Jupiter ship's inner workings. In the Imperial throne room, Zortax listened intently as his generals pored over Xerxes' report. Their initial elation quickly gave way to dismay as the true scope of the Prometheus's capabilities became clear. "The railgun alone could decimate our fleets," War Master Varaxis muttered, his scales pale. "And it's just one weapon among many." Emperor Zortax's eyes blazed with fury and something else. Fear? He pushed the unsettling thought aside, focusing instead on the challenge before him. "Gather our forces," he growled. "The Jupiter ship represents an intolerable threat. We will bring the full might of the Tarkalian Empire to bear. Humanity's reach for the stars ends now." Emperor Zortax's talons dug into the armrests of his throne as he absorbed the latest reports. The human upstarts had crossed a line, their audacity surpassing even his darkest predictions. His yellow eyes narrowed to slits as he surveyed the grim faces of his advisors. "A Terran sovereign sphere?" he spat, acid dripping from each syllable. "They dare to carve out our territory?" Grand Admiral Torcan stepped forward, his scales dripping with awe-inspiring rage. "Your Majesty, we must crush these insolent primitives before their delusions of grandeur spread further. Let me unleash the full might of our war fleets upon them." Strategist Prime Arcata raised a cautionary hand. "My Emperor, we must consider the possibility that their capabilities exceed our current intelligence. A direct confrontation could prove costly." Zortax opened his mouth to retort when a priority communique flashed on the main view screen. The chamber fell silent as the message scrolled across the display, detailing the humans' brazen proclamation and their ultimatum to all non-Terran inhabitants within their newly claimed systems. The Emperor's roar of outrage echoed through the halls of the Imperial Palace. Aboard the Prometheus, Matthew Porter stood at the center of the bustling bridge, his eyes darting between holographic displays. The massive vessel hummed with energy as it orchestrated the enforcement of the Terran sphere. "Status on the Gateway Network?" Porter inquired, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility. His chief engineer responded, "Construction crews report 60% completion on the primary choke points, sir. The automated shipyards are operating at maximum capacity, churning out sphere enforcement vessels as fast as we can supply them with materials." Porter nodded, allowing himself a moment of grim satisfaction. Humanity's bold gambit was proceeding as planned, but he knew the Tarkalians wouldn't take this lying down. As if on cue, alarms blared across the bridge. The tactical officer's voice cut through the cacophony. "Multiple contacts detected. Tarkalian signatures. It's the subjugator fleet." Porter's fist tight. "Location?" "They're converging on the Eritis shipyards, sir. Admiral Gorvak is leading the assault." Without hesitation, Porter issued his commands. "Alert the Leonidas, Hercules, and Spartan. We're moving to intercept." The bridge crew sprang into action as the Prometheus and its sister ships, each a moon transformed into an instrument of war, accelerated towards the beleaguered shipyards. The void of space erupted into a maelstrom of light and fury as the two fleets clashed. Tarkalian dreadnoughts unleashed salvos of antimatter torpedoes, while the Terran vessels responded with precisely targeted gravimetric pulses that crumpled enemy ships like tin cans. From his command chair on the Prometheus, Porter watched the battle unfold with a mix of awe and horror. The ship rocked as a barrage of Tarkalian fire impacted their shields. "Shields holding at 72%, the defensive systems officer reported. "But we can't sustain this level of assault indefinitely." Porter's mind raced, calculating trajectories and probabilities. "Bring us about. Target the subjugator fleet's flagship with the main railgun. Fire when ready." The Prometheus pivoted, its colossal mass belying its agility. A blinding lance of light erupted from its prow, the hypervelocity round tearing through space and time itself. Admiral Gorvak had only a moment to register the incoming projectile before his flagship disintegrated in a spectacular explosion. Chaos erupted among the Tarkalian forces as they scrambled to regroup. But even as the humans pressed their advantage, more Tarkalian ships poured into the system. The battle raged for 3 relentless days, a crucible of fire and destruction that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As the conflict reached its fever pitch, Porter received the transmission he'd been dreading. The Eritis shipyards, their defenses finally overwhelmed, were falling to the Tarkalian onslaught. His fists clenched as he watched the proudest achievement of human engineering crumble under the relentless assault. The Prometheus shuddered as another volley of enemy fire found its mark, a stark reminder that this war was not nearly finished. The Eritis shipyards, humanity's crowning achievement, had fallen. Porter's mind focused as he surveyed the smoldering wreckage through the Prometheus's view screens. Debris fields stretched as far as the eye could see, punctuated by the twisted husks of half-built vessels. Years of progress, vaporized in days. "Sir," his communications officer called out, voice tight. "Priority transmission from Earth. It's President Riker." Porter nodded, steeling himself. The holographic projection flickered to life, revealing Riker's grim visage. "Captain, I'm convening an emergency strategy conference aboard Prometheus. Our intelligence suggests the Tarkalians are mobilizing for something big. Get us there ASAP." The journey back to Earth was tense, the crew working in near silence as they licked their wounds. As they approached the gleaming blue marble of their homeworld, Porter couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. Hours later, Porter found himself in Prometheus's war room, surrounded by humanity's top military and scientific minds. Defense Secretary Marcus Dante paced at the head of the table, his face a mask of awe-inspiring fury. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem," Dante growled, activating a holographic display. "Operation Cataclysm." The room erupted in a flurry of questions. Dante raised a hand, silencing them. "Our deep cover assets have confirmed it. The Tarkalians are constructing a weapon of unimaginable power, a singularity inducer." He paused, letting the implication sink in. Once operational, it could generate artificial black holes capable of swallowing entire planets. President Riker leaned forward, his voice grave. "Where?" "Corlanax 4, Dante replied. "A mining world on the fringes of Tarkalian space. They're retrofitting an old dreadnought called the Ruiner to house the device." Porter's mind raced, calculating potential countermeasures. "We could hit them with a metallurgy salvo from Jupiter's core," he suggested. "Wipe the site off the map before they can finish." Riker shook his head. "Too risky. An attack of that magnitude could spark an intergalactic war. We need a more surgical approach." The room fell silent as the weight of their predicament settled in. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Security Chief Logan Blake burst into the war room, dragging a battered figure behind him. "Mr. President, Captain, we have a situation," Blake reported, shoving the prisoner forward. "This Zarkani assassin tried to overload our reactor core. If Dr. Chen hadn't caught it in time..." Porter recognized the infiltrator immediately. "Xerxes," he spat. Under intense questioning, Xerxes revealed a terrifying truth. Operation Cataclysm wasn't just a weapon. It was a coup in the making. Imperial hardliners planned to seize control once Earth's solar system was consumed, reshaping the Empire under their fanatical rule. With time running out, Riker made his decision. "Prepare for a military strike," he ordered. "We end this now." The next hours were a blur of activity as Prometheus and its newly christened sister ship, ESS Ragnarok, prepared for battle. Porter stood on the bridge, watching as the massive vessels aligned for their intrasystem jump. "All systems go, sir," his navigator reported. "Ready to jump on your mark." Porter took a deep breath, acutely aware of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. "Execute jump." Space itself seemed to stretch and contort as the titanic world ships tore through the fabric of reality. They emerged in Corlanax 4's asteroid belt, surrounded by the sprawling shipyards of Operation Cataclysm. "Weapons free," Porter roared. "Hit them with everything we've got." The void erupted in a symphony of destruction. Relativistic rounds punched clean through asteroids. Matter disintegration rays carved swaths of nothingness through Tarkalian defenses. Antimatter torpedoes blossomed into miniature suns, vaporizing entire sections of the enemy fleet. On Korlunax 4's surface, Tarkalian engineers scrambled to bring the Singularity Inducer online, but it was too late. As the humans' onslaught reached its crescendo, the Ruiner's superstructure buckled and collapsed. When the cosmic inferno finally subsided, only Prometheus and Ragnarok remained. Operation Cataclysm was no more. Porter sagged in his command chair, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. They'd won the battle, but at what cost? And how long before the next crisis emerged? As if in answer to his unspoken question, his tactical officer's voice cut through the silence. "Sir, we're detecting anomalous energy readings from the system's outer reaches. Something big is coming through." The anomalous energy readings exploded into a blinding flash as a massive Tarkalian fleet materialized at the edge of the system. Porter's teeth gritted as he surveyed the tactical display. 5,000 warships, his XO breathed, and the Black Armada. Before Porter could respond, a priority transmission cut through the airwaves. Grand Admiral Torkin's scarred visage filled the view screen, eyes blazing with fanatical hatred. "Humans," he snarled, "your pitiful resistance ends now. Prepare for annihilation." The transmission cut off abruptly. Porter turned to his crew, their faces a mix of grit and fear. "Battle stations," he ordered. "We're buying Earth time to prepare." The Prometheus and Ragnarok surged forward, engaging the vanguard of the Tarkalian Armada. Relativistic rounds tore through enemy shields, while matter disintegration beams carved swaths through fighter squadrons. But for every Tarkalian ship they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Days blurred together as the Terran vessels conducted a fighting retreat across outlying systems. They employed every trick and tactic at their disposal, using asteroid fields as cover, luring pursuers into plasma storms, even detonating a brown dwarf to take out a Tarkalian battle group. But their resources were dwindling. As they neared the Sol system, Porter received a priority transmission from President Riker. "We're activating the X project," Riker said, his face grim. "Get clear of the Grislock shipyards." Porter's eyes widened as he processed the implications. "Understood, sir. Good hunting." The Prometheus limped towards Earth, its hull scarred and systems failing. On the displays, Porter watched as Torkin's dreadnought Dominator moved into position for a final bombardment of humanity's homeworld. Suddenly, a colossal shape emerged from hyperspace, Ceres, propelled to impossible velocities by the X Project's distortion fields. It streaked towards Grislock Prime like an avenging meteor. The impact was beyond description. A blinding flash seared Porter's retinas even through the viewscreen's filters. When his vision cleared, he saw the Tarkalian Armada had been reduced to scattered debris. Where Grislock Prime had been, only a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated plasma remained. As the Prometheus limped into Earth orbit, Porter allowed himself a moment of stunned silence. They had survived, but at what cost? And what new challenges awaited them in the aftermath of this cataclysmic victory? His reverie was interrupted by a priority alert. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're detecting multiple uprisings across Tarkalian space, and there's something else. You need to see this." "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're detecting multiple uprisings across Tarkalian space, and there's something else. You need to see this." Porter leaned forward, studying the holographic display. Across the remnants of the Tarkalian Empire, entire systems blazed with insurrection. But it was the pulsing red icon at the edge of known space that drew his attention. "Grand Admiral Torkin's command signature," he murmured. "Confirmed?" The tactical officer nodded grimly. "Affirmative. He's taken what's left of their fleet and is making a run for it, heading into unexplored territory." Before Porter could respond, the war room doors hissed open. 2 figures strode in, their lab coats singed and faces haggard but triumphant. He recognized them immediately. Doctors Eliza Voigt and Duncan Hayes, the architects of the X Project. President Riker rose to greet them. "Doctors, your timing couldn't be better." As congratulations were exchanged, Porter's mind raced. They'd won a decisive victory, but at what cost? The smoldering remains of Grislock Prime haunted the edges of his vision. Riker's voice cut through his thoughts. Captain Porter, I'm tasking Prometheus with leading our consolidation efforts. We need to secure our position before Torkin can regroup. Porter nodded, already formulating strategies. Understood, sir. We'll start with the outer colonies and work our way in. The next months blurred into a grueling campaign. System after system fell under Terran control, most offering only token resistance. But on Centauri 5, they hit a wall. Grand Inquisitor Kazrith's voice crackled over the comms, filled with venomous defiance. Your ultimatum is rejected, human. My subjugators will reduce your precious Prometheus to atoms before we surrender this world. Porter watched from the bridge as waves of gleaming battle droids swarmed their landing zones. All units fall back to defensive positions, he ordered. Initiate orbital bombardment. The siege of Centauri 5 dragged on for weeks. Cities became battlefields, then wastelands. Porter's dreams were haunted by the sight of metropolises vanishing in blinding flashes as relativistic rounds pierced the atmosphere. Finally, as another urban center dissolved into radioactive ash, Kazrith's signal came through. Her holographic form appeared on the bridge, shoulders slumped in defeat. Enough, she said, her voice hollow. I surrender my forces. But know this, human. You've become what you sought to destroy. As the subjugators laid down their arms, Porter couldn't shake the chill that ran down his spine. Victory felt increasingly Pyrrhic. Reports flooded in from across the expanding Terran sphere. On Tyr's Reach, a crowd hurled rocks at a patrol of Order Wardens. The enforcers responded with stun batons and mass arrests. No better than the Tarkalians, a protester's voice rang out before being cut off abruptly. Porter's unease grew as he reviewed after-action reports. Defense Secretary Dante was pushing for harsher crackdowns, while President Riker urged restraint. The tension was palpable. Then came the first Cerberus attack. A munitions depot on New Montana erupted in flames. The insurgents' calling card projected above the inferno. Porter watched the footage with a mixture of anger and trepidation. All vessels, this is a priority alert. Warden Commandant Logan Blake's face filled the view screens, eyes sharp. Cerberus terror cells have been designated priority targets. You are authorized to use all necessary force in their apprehension or elimination. As the Prometheus entered orbit around the latest hotspot, Porter gazed out at the stars. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a new, more insidious conflict, one that threatened to tear apart everything they'd fought so hard to build. Porter's unease crystallized into cold dread as alarms blared throughout the Prometheus. He sprinted to the bridge, dodging panicked crewmen and sparking conduits. Status report, he barked, sliding into the command chair. His tactical officer's face was ashen. Sir, we've lost control of primary weapon systems. The main cannon is powering up, targeting Earth. Porter's blood ran cold. Override! We can't, sir. Security protocols have been completely locked out. A priority transmission cut through the chaos. Julian Barre's smug face filled the view screen, flanked by Terra Primea loyalists. Captain Porter, Bayer sneered, you have precisely 30 minutes to convince President Riker to step down, or we turn your precious ship into a planet killer. The transmission cut off abruptly. Porter's mind raced, weighing impossible options as his crew scrambled to regain control. Outside, swarms of Tartarus drones descended on the Prometheus like mechanized locusts. Their weapons blazed indiscriminately, cutting down rebels and loyalists alike in a hail of plasma fire. Sir, his helmsman called out, engineering reports they might be able to trigger an emergency jump. Porter nodded grimly. Do it. Any coordinates, just get us away from Earth. The ship shuddered as its massive engines roared to life. Space itself seemed to stretch and tear as the Prometheus hurled itself into the void. They emerged in a sea of swirling crimson and gold. Jupiter's atmosphere buffeted the ship, alarms screaming as hull integrity dropped precipitously. All hands, brace for impact, Porter bellowed as the mighty warship plummeted into the gas giant's crushing depths. The bridge erupted in chaos. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The view screen cracked, then shattered entirely as atmospheric pressure mounted. Porter clung to his chair, vision blurring as G-forces threatened to tear the ship apart. Through the haze of pain and confusion, a single thought burned in his mind. This was only the beginning. The real struggle for humanity's soul lay ahead, and he'd be damned if he'd let the Prometheus become its tombstone. Instrument of destruction. As the Prometheus plummeted deeper into Jupiter's atmosphere, Porter gritted his teeth against the crushing G-forces. Alarms blared as the ship's hull groaned under immense pressure. "Structural integrity at 43%, shouted the engineering officer, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of failing systems. Porter's eyes darted across the flickering displays. "Reroute all available power to the shields. We need to buy time." A violent shudder rocked the bridge. Sparks erupted from a nearby console, engulfing a crewman in flames. As medical teams rushed to respond, Porter's mind raced. They were out of options, tumbling ever deeper into the gas giant's turbulent depths. Suddenly, a priority transmission cut through the chaos. President Riker's hologram materialized, his expression grim. "Captain, we've identified the infiltrators. It's Colonel Kapoor and a rogue Black Ops unit. They're working with Cerberus." Porter's blood ran cold. Before he could respond, another violent tremor shook the ship. Warning klaxons screamed as the hull began to buckle. "Sir," called out the navigation officer, "we're detecting a quantum fluctuation. Some kind of tunnel is forming." Porter's eyes widened as he processed the impossible readings. "All hands, brace for impact." The Prometheus lurched, reality itself seeming to twist and contort around them. In a blinding flash, the swirling crimson and gold of Jupiter's atmosphere vanished. They emerged into a vast, alien expanse unlike anything Porter had ever seen. Towering structures of impossible geometry stretched as far as the eye could see. Artificial suns pulsed with otherworldly energy. This was Helios Reef, a megastructure beyond human comprehension. Before Porter could fully process their surroundings, new alarms blared. "Multiple contacts," shouted the tactical officer. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Beams of coherent neutrinos lanced out from the bizarre landscape, slamming into the Prometheus with devastating force. Porter barked orders as the ship desperately evaded, its systems struggling to adapt to this new threat. "Sir," called out the comms officer, "we're being hailed, I think. The signal's like nothing I've ever seen." A shimmering hologram coalesced on the bridge. The being that appeared was vaguely humanoid, but with features that seemed to shift and blur, defying description. "Terrans," it intoned, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. "Your arrival heralds the great convergence. The Discordians welcome you as the key to our ascension." Before Porter could respond, the ship rocked with a series of explosions. "Internal detonations," shouted the security chief. "We have borders." Porter's mind reeled as he tried to process the cascade of crises. They'd escaped certain death in Jupiter, only to find themselves embroiled in an incomprehensible conflict that threatened to tear reality itself apart. As Discordian saboteurs clashed with security teams in the lower decks, Porter caught a glimpse of a familiar face among the attackers. His blood ran cold as he recognized Abigail Chen, her eyes burning with fanatical fervor. "All hands," Porter's voice rang out, steeling himself for the battle ahead. "Repel boarders and prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're not losing this ship. Not to Cerberus, not to these Discordians, not to anyone." The Prometheus shuddered as another barrage of neutrino lances slammed into its shields. In the swirling chaos of Helios Reef, humanity's flagship found itself at the center of a cosmic maelstrom that threatened to consume them all. The Prometheus lurched violently as it emerged from the rift, alarms blaring throughout the ship. Porter stumbled, gripping his command chair as the bridge tilted wildly. View screens flickered with cascading streams of nonsensical data. "Report," he barked, fighting down a wave of nausea. "Sir, sensors are—" "I don't know what we're seeing," the science officer stammered. "Reality itself seems distorted. Our instruments can't make sense of it." Porter squinted at the main view screen. Outside, shattered planetoids drifted by, wreathed in swirling, ethereal mists. The stars themselves seemed wrong, their light bending and twisting in impossible ways. Helix 14 analysis, Porter commanded. The AI's normally steady voice wavered. Captain, I am detecting severe metaphysical anomalies. The laws of physics as we understand them appear to be in flux, attempting to model new parameters. A startled cry from the helm drew Porter's attention. Latine Reeves stared in horror at her hands, now sprouting crystalline growths that pulsed with alien geometries. Similar formations were spreading across consoles and bulkheads. "Medical team to the bridge!" Porter shouted, but his words were drowned out by a deafening screech of tearing metal. Through the maelstrom of sensor static, a monstrous shape materialized. It dwarfed the Prometheus, its hull a maze of impossible angles and psionic energies. "Discordian dreadnought!" the tactical officer yelled. "Weapons powering up!" Porter's mind raced. Their conventional armaments would be useless here. He locked eyes with his chief engineer. "Initiate star drive overload. Random vector translocation." "Sir, that could tear us apart." "We're dead if we stay here," Porter growled. "Do it!" Energy built to a fevered crescendo as the Discordian vessel unleashed hell. A lance of pure unreality sliced through the Prometheus's starboard side, vaporizing entire decks. Screams echoed through the comms as crewmen were sucked into the void. With a bone-rattling howl, the star drive detonated. Space-time itself buckled and tore. For an eternal instant, Porter experienced every possible reality simultaneously. Then, mercifully, darkness claimed him. He awoke to silence. The emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over the ruined bridge. Sparks sputtered from shattered consoles. "Status report," Porter croaked, tasting blood. "We're alive, sir," came a weak reply. "But sensors show nothing. No stars, no planets, just void." Porter dragged himself to a flickering display. Their dimensional leap had shredded local spacetime. The Prometheus floated in an endless, starless expanse. As the hours crawled by, the situation grew dire. Life support faltered. Radiation leaks claimed more lives. A strange sickness spread, leaving victims babbling about impossible geometries and entities beyond comprehension. In his quarters, Porter recorded what he knew would be his final log entry. He spoke of the horrors they'd witnessed, of realities beyond human understanding. His voice grew hoarse as he issued a final warning to Earth, a plea for humility in the face of cosmic forces far beyond their grasp. The transmission complete, Porter stared out into the infinite darkness. In the distance, something stirred. Whether salvation or damnation, he could not say. All he knew was that humanity's greatest triumph had become its most dire folly, adrift in the lightless depths between realities.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.